Hi, I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I starred in an episode of The World's Strictest Parents back in 2009. Today we're going to watch a World's Strictest Parents reaction video to one moment in the show that got a lot of attention, actually. This is when a friend of mine named Cash was giving some teenage relationship advice to Hannah. If you've seen some of my other reaction videos, you know that Cash is a ranch hand at a ranch that we used to go to. In fact, it's no longer in operation, actually. It's kind of sad. But he was there working with Hannah and James one day on the farm. Well, Hannah decided that Cash was a pretty interesting guy, maybe even a little cute. And so the camera crew decided that it would be fun for the two of them to have a little lunch date and for them to just talk about life so that Hannah could see the differences between how teenagers were raised where I live and how teenagers behave and are raised where she lives. And it was a pretty eye-opening experience. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. They're going to eat at a place in the little town of Stockton. And so you see here, like, it says, like, the special is the coal miner's daughter, you know, because it was called the Stockton Miners Cafe. It's no longer there anymore, but kind of a fun little iconic place that they went to go and eat. So let's see what happens.
The Pecks have arranged for Hannah to meet with ranch hand Cash for a lunchtime date. They want her to understand a different teenage perspective.
You go and meet the boy in town, usually you take your mate with you on the first time, and then you just get a bevy and like you smoke some weed, and then like, if you're single and that, then you go back to his house and probably have sex.
Probably one night stand around here.
In Utah, the age of consent is 18.
Okay, I have to stop right there because I always laugh at that. So here's Cash just eating and eating, and she's like, okay, well, where I live, you know, you might go and meet a guy for the first time and kind of see if maybe you like him, and then if you're single, you're probably going to go back to his place and you're going to have sex. And Cash was just like, okay. You know, like, that is definitely not how we do it here, right? And so he's just kind of casually taking it in. He's eating his food, but you can see him just processing, like, holy cow, I would never even think of treating a girl like that, of just assuming that sex is going to be one of the first things that we're going to do together as we get to know each other. I mean, he just was not raised that way at all. In fact, if anything, he was raised to respect women and to just put them on a pedestal almost. You know, his father, incredibly respectful to his mother. He's got multiple brothers and a sister. They all care for and serve their sister. I mean, just a really amazing family that just knows how to raise really good, respectful boys. And this is kind of shocking him a little bit, but he's trying not to show his shock by like stuffing his face with food. Okay, so let's see what he says then.
And like all Mormons, the Peck children will be expected to save sex for marriage.
This is 16 is when you should date. Should be more learning about other people, what you like, what you don't like, you know, in a person. They say passionate kissing is the word. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't lie on top of each other. And you should always date in groups.
You're allowed to like touch each other not before you're 16?
You're not.
I mean before you get married?
No, you're not supposed to do any of that. You can hold hands, sit by each other,
That's it?
talk, you know, and then have
You're allowed
fun.
to sleep in the same bed?
No, definitely not. That's absolutely not allowed.
Okay, so they're going back and forth what Cash is allowed to do and what Cash is not allowed to do. And of course she's recognizing, well, I'm not going to be doing anything with this guy because he has all these rules. So number one, group dating, that's important. And he's explaining the purpose of dating for me in my culture is to get to know people, to see if I like somebody maybe, and if I want to get to know them more. But it's all about relationship development and really knowing a person and not just just about physical things. And so he says, you know, we're not gonna like lay on top of each other. We're not gonna be touching each other in ways. And she says, what? You can't be touching each other before you get to know each other better? And he's like, no. And he says, we can hold hands maybe sit next to each other when we're watching a movie or something. And she's like, you mean you can't even sleep in the same bed together? And he's like, no. So just very interesting. So what he's explaining is standards. These standards are super important. In fact, every family does have standards. And if you have a lack of standards, meaning you don't have any standards that you've defined for your family, well, then that's your standard. Your standard is anything goes. But Cash's family has standards, and my family has standards too. In fact, he mentions that according to our faith, that we choose to have these standards. Now, every person who's part of our faith is not required to have these standards by any means, but they are suggested to keep those physical appetites at bay and to focus on the more long term, to focus on the eternal perspective, to creating a forever family, not just gratifying the senses in the minute. It's all about self-control, really. And there's a great guide actually that came out years ago when I was a young girl called For the Strength of Youth. And this guide actually has been published and presented all over the world. In fact, leaders of many different faiths have said, wow, what a great guide to give to young people. It talks about relationships, it talks about standards, it talks about controlling yourself and becoming more honest, just becoming a better person. So anyway, he's giving her an idea what some of these standards would be like for relationships and sexual things, and she is really surprised by these things. So let's see where they go from here.
Because, I mean, if you're sleeping in the same bed, you might as well be doing it, too. I mean, in our church and in our culture, a relationship is more about emotional support and more about getting to know people and what you like and what you don't like. And to get to know what you like and what you don't like, you don't need to be sleeping with people.
Bye.
It's okay, have fun.
Bye.
See ya.
The most important thing in a relationship for me is he needs to make me laugh, he needs to be nice to me, he needs to cuddle me and tell me he loves me and that. He needs to be nice looking and he needs to be good in bed.
So there's the difference. So we have Cash giving some advice about what really relationships are about when you're in the teenage years. That they're about getting to know people and respecting people and, you know, learning how to communicate with other people. He gives some really good sound advice there. And then we hear Hannah and her saying, listen, you know, a relationship with me, you know, for me is all about what I get out of it. Do I get sex? Do I get to feel good about myself? Is he going to tell me that I'm good looking? You know, that kind of thing, and what she gets out of it. So there's a difference there. Cash is focusing on what he is giving to that person as far as friendship goes, and she's focusing on what she gets. Big difference. I think it's really telltale to get this type of advice from the teens themselves. I think Cash did a great job at helping Hannah, as well as many other people who contacted him afterward, know and understand why he behaves the way he does, why his dating rules are what they are, and just standing up in general for his own principles and values. I was so proud of him. There is one thing that I thought was kind of funny. After all of this thing happened, this whole show, everyone in the community, all the kids had a nickname for Cash. They called him Ranch Hand Cash. It was so funny. They're like, hey, Ranch Hand Cash. And he was like, oh boy, I'm never going to live that down. But I think inside, everyone was really proud of him. They felt like he had stayed true to who he was and had really set a good example for what it meant to be a young person living in our area of the world, and had maybe even made a good impression on some people. In fact, I know he did. There were multiple different people who ended up altering some of their lives and behaviors and who ended up becoming his friend over time. Interesting. Social media brought a lot of people into Cash's world because of his little vignette, his little bits that he did on this program. I'm going to be doing reaction videos on all the different parts of our episode of The World's Strictest Parents, and there are some funny things, some touching things, might even make you cry a little bit. I mean, they did make us cry in the moment for sure. So if you don't want to miss any of those, be sure to subscribe to my channel because I've got new videos coming out every day.